So Arc Raiders was available to play over the weekend. I played quite a bit of it, and I'm going to be giving you a detailed review. The game comes out on October 30th, which is not too far from now. And I'm going to get into as much detail as possible on what I played over the weekend. So Arc Raiders is a third-person extraction shooter. Now, if you don't know what an extraction shooter is, it's kind of like a battle royale type of game mode, but instead of being the last team or the last player standing, you sort of just leave the match whenever you want by actually going to an extraction zone and successfully leaving the map, or mission I should say. Now, the objective of the game is to loot and scavenge certain items that'll upgrade your gear and manage your loadout, and you have to do all of this while surrounded by players and environmental enemies that are these giant robot things, small robots. There's just a whole bunch of different variants of robots. And these Arc robots are no joke. You literally cannot take these things head on top of the players attacking you at the same time. It does bring for some excitement, but when you've been looting for 20-15 minutes and then you're getting pushed by two different squads and you end up losing it because you were spotted by a Rocketeer, which is this giant robot that shoots missiles. And if you guys played the game this weekend, you know what I'm talking about. And when that all happens, you end up going down and you lose everything you worked for. That's how they work. When you end up losing, you lose everything you've worked for. So if you don't extract successfully, you pretty much wasted your time that entire mission, besides getting XP. And that leads me to the first thing I want to talk about, which is the risk and reward. Risk to reward ratio. If you end up dying during the raid, you lose all the gear and loot that you've worked for. And that's not a good feeling to most people. I mean, that's not a good feeling to pretty much anybody. And if it is, I really don't know what to say about you. So if you're really big on the reward aspect of things and you want to play a game and feel like, you know, everything I've done, everything you did, you get something out of it, this really isn't the game for you. You know, it's sort of like the battle royale aspect, like I said, but the thing is, I'm really more of a battle royale type of guy because I know I'm not just going in a game trying to loot and look for items. I'm just going in a game to try to win. And whenever I extract from the mission, after I've got the items that I was looking for, done the quest that I've been assigned, I extract and still feel like there's no real reward for what I've done, or there's no sense of accomplishment. So the risk aspect is there because anytime you're looting up, you're risking losing all your loot, or anytime you go into a game with items that you really care for, you risk losing those items. So it just feels like everything's a risk, but there's no reward. Now, as far as the gunplay, I would say the gunplay is pretty good. The gunfights are actually pretty fun, and you do have time to react. It's not one of those games where you just get shot in the back and you don't have time to react. So if you get shot unexpectedly, you do have time to react, shield up. The gunfights actually take quite a while. It's a lot of back and forth, which actually brings a lot of excitement to the fights. It's not like a one and done type of thing where you just shoot somebody and it's over with. Now, obviously that can be the case once in a while, but the majority of the time, the fights are like a seesaw. You're just going back and forth. Now, as far as aiming and hit detection, that's pretty good as well. I haven't had any times where I felt like my bullets weren't registering, and they pretty much always go where I'm aiming. And the fights seem pretty fair. There haven't been any fights where I feel like I should have got that guy and I didn't. Whenever there's a close gunfight, I kind of feel like the right guy always wins. Well, I can't say always, but the majority of the time. And I say that because, you know, sometimes games start acting funny. So, you know, I don't want to say 100% of the time. But the gunplay has actually been pretty good. And that leads me to the action. One thing about this game is you can get as much action as you really want to. Since it is PvP and PvE, if you're not running into a lot of players, you can actually just jump in a game and try to fight as much Arc as possible. And that's the cool thing about it, because the Arc is actually extremely challenging. It's even more challenging than the players that you go up against, if you ask me. So there's always going to be some type of danger surrounding you that you can either decide to avoid or go up against. And it's actually kind of fun fighting against the Arc, especially since they're so challenging. And to be honest, I don't really run across too many players that often. Yeah, if you're looting in a good spot, you're going to run across players, but just not as much as the Arc, because the Arc are just everywhere. You can also decide to try to loot somewhere where it won't be too hot, you won't run into too many players, or you can try to go somewhere where it'll be extremely hot, you run into players, you run into Arc, and you're just going to fight for what you're trying to loot for. So the route and risk you take is completely up to you. Now, one thing I do like is the level up process, because when you first start off, you really feel like you're incapable, like you can't really do much. But as you progress through the game, you actually feel your character getting a lot better. You move better. You get way more abilities. So that's actually nice because that does feel rewarding, and I feel like once you actually max out your player, the game's gonna be totally different. Because when you first start off, there's things like running from the arc. You can't really run from the arc because you have no stamina. You can't evade enemies because you can't move as fast. You can't climb obstacles fast. Max your player out, you're not gonna really have to worry about all that. Now, as far as the map, there was only one map that we were able to play in the server slam. It's a pretty good map, a lot of variety, and I do like that they're going to add way more maps when the actual game comes out. There were a lot of close quarter fights, a lot of long range fights, so you have that variety when you're in an open field or when you want to fight indoors. There's just a lot of different scenarios. So the map that was available actually did give a lot of variety, so I'm assuming the other maps will be the same, so I have no complaints about the map. It was actually pretty fun. Now, as far as the weapons, there were a few guns that I found myself being more successful with. That can just be a personal thing, but I feel like using a long-range rifle was a no-brainer. Because all I had to do was pretty much get the first shot on somebody with the rifle, and then I finish them off with whatever secondary I have, like a SMG or something. And that's if you want to like successfully get them out of there. Any other time I didn't do that strategy, the fight was ugly, it was a mess, and I really only seen good players doing that. Anytime I'll come across a good team, they'll be using that same exact gun. I think it was called the Pharaoh or something like that. And as far as secondaries, the SMGs were pretty good, but the ARs, I don't know, I just weren't feeling the ARs. I feel like the marksman rifle was the no-brainer, like I said. So all in all, when it comes to the weapons, I feel like they can buff the ARs a bit more. I don't know, just try to make it a little more, I don't want to say balanced, because there was a balance. I don't feel like the marksman rifle was OP. I just feel like it was better for almost every situation. Even in close quarter situations, I feel like you can just easily get a shot off on somebody. Maybe that's just because the game is third person. You're not actually zooming into a scope or anything like that. So I really didn't see myself using any other long-range weapon besides the Pharaoh because it was just so good. All in all, I feel like what I played during the server slam was actually fun. And knowing that they're going to have more maps and probably upgrade the game throughout, I can only see it getting better. I really don't want to rate the game because I'm not an extraction shooter type of guy. I just wanted to try out something new. But I will say that if you do like extraction shooters, you should definitely get this game. For me, I just feel like that risk to reward ratio is not there. Maybe if they had like a battle royale type game mode, I would definitely be on it heavy. But just the simple fact of I could possibly be looting up for 15, 20, 25 minutes and then I just lose everything I've worked for, that's just not a good feeling for me. But everybody's different, everything is preference, and like I said, if you do like extraction shooters, I definitely would get this game. This game is actually really good. Hope this helped you out. I just wanted to give my honest opinion. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'm out.